Hey everyone, I know it's been a while, but I wanted to go ahead and do an update. I think the last time I talked to you all was back in April, but a lot has happened since then. I figured I would get on here and kind of explain. Sorry the lighting is not the best. I'm kind of just wanting to do an update. No fancy lighting or anything. Anyway, since I last talked to you, a lot has changed. I'm still on TPN and probably will be for a while. But I also have a G tube and a J tube now. Basically, what happened was when I had seen my doctor not too long after that video was made. No, wait, when did I talk to you guys last? March? I think it was March, April, beginning of April. I don't know. Anyway, the last time I talked to you guys, I just had TPN, and I was getting it through my port. Well, my port decided to stop working. So basically, I had gone to the hospital for some blood work to see if I had an infection at that point, and I didn't. It just looked kind of red and irritated. And while I was there, they didn't wear masks when they went to go look at my port. They did not put an occlusive bandage over it either because I'm allergic to tegaderm. So they kind of just like left it off so it was exposed with the needle in being accessed. And then they put a kind of like a cloth type of bandage over it until I got home and could put a new one on. And they were like, oh, you can just leave this one. You don't even need to change it. Like, you'll be fine with this one. So I left it on until I talked to my friend's mom, who's a nurse, and she told me that that's not okay. We need to put on an occlusive bandage, which means like that actually covers it all. And so she came over and she changed it, and that was that. And exactly 1 week later, I ended up having really bad pain in my port site to the point where like it kind of hurt to move my arm, and it burned and it hurt. It was very, very sore, and I'm like, this isn't cool. So when I went to de-access, I looked and it looked nasty. It did not look good. So I contacted my doctor and we went to the ER, and that was on Easter actually. So the hospital that I had went to for the blood work was a local hospital, and my actual hospital is in Miami. So my doctor was like, you need to get down to Miami like right now. So I went down there and they ran blood work. My blood work came back fine. The only thing that they did was, kind of check it, the blood work, and they're like, okay, well, that's cellulitis. Like, you have cellulitis. So we're going to go ahead, since you can't use your port anymore for TPN, we're going to have to figure something else out. So they admitted me and started me on IV vancomycin. So they placed an IV, which was really weird because I wasn't used to having IVs because I had my port. And they're like, we're going to hope that this clears it up and that you'll be good to go. We're trying to save it. Well, that did not make me happy because I wanted to be able to use my port. And so they admitted me to the hospital, and they were trying to get my doctor to bump up my G and J tube surgery. So basically, I had seen her a week maybe before that, and my surgery date for my GJ tube was April 17th, right? For March, April, yeah. It was for the end of April. I'm sorry. My original surgery date was for the end of April. And they're like, well, we're going to see if we can bump it up because it was kind of like a struggle to figure out what to do between like the TPN and the tube feedings and like what are we going to do. It was a big mess. So I was admitted and I started the IV vancomycin, and then I didn't get any TPN that night. I just did the vancomycin and vitamins through a bag. That was it. And so that night was kind of a rough night. My stomach was in a lot of pain. My port was in a lot of pain. I couldn't move my arm because it hurt so bad. And so finally, the next day, we were waiting to hear if my doctor was going to go ahead and do the surgery, and we hadn't heard anything, so everything was kind of up in the air. And then, literally at the last second, the next day on April 17th, I had a bunch of people from the surgery team storm into the room and say, "Okay, we need you to go do a urine sample. You're going down right now for your G and J2 placement." And I was like, "What the heck?" Like, no warning, no nothing. And my mom wasn't in the room because my mom had come down there. Steve had to watch the girls and Mo. So I was like, what the heck? So I texted my mom. I was like, can you please come back? Like, I'm going down for surgery. And so I already had like a urine sample already in the bathroom. So they just went ahead and used that. And my doctor comes in and was like, okay, look, this is what we're doing. You know, kind of last second, I just threw you on the schedule, but this needs to get done. So we're going to go ahead and do is place a J tube separate from the G tube. And the G tube you will use to drain, and the J tube you will use to feed. So I was like, okay. Not even like 2 minutes later, I was being put in a wheelchair and went down to surgery. In surgery, I was kind of nervous, I think, just because I didn't know what to expect, and I didn't think it was going to be that painful afterwards. But because she did a separate G and J tube, it was pretty intense. I had woken up. I was told the surgery would only take about less than an hour. They say an hour, but that it would take less than an hour. That it's a really easy and smooth procedure, and that I would get general anesthesia, and that'd be fine. I texted Steve, and he went ahead and he made his way down there. By the time I had woken up, he was already there, and when I woke up, I was kind of like out of it still. And I remember my doctor like sitting on the edge of my bed, and it was like, I'm just letting you know that I wasn't able to get the J tube all the way into place because your jejunum is kinked. So I wasn't able to advance the J tube all the way through because I did not want to perforate anything. So she's like, you're going to have to come back in 2 weeks and have another procedure done to finish getting it into your J tube, which means you can't use your feed tube yet. So it was kind of like, yeah, okay, whatever. Like, I was like so out of it. It didn't even like faze me. I didn't realize what she had just said. So I fell back asleep. And then when I woke up in recovery, Steven was there, and he told me that the surgery had been almost 3 hours long. That when he got there, I was still back there, and it takes about 2 to 2.5 hours to drive from where we live to Miami. So I was still in there. I was in there for almost 3 hours, and that's because she was trying to get it through, and she couldn't get it. So he had told me again what had happened and how I'm gonna have to come back, and I'm not gonna lie, I was pretty upset because I thought that like, okay, we'll be able to start tube feeding, like, and start weaning off of TPN, and everything's gonna be great. And that did not happen. So it was extremely painful. I remember the pain like being excruciating. Like I never want to feel that ever again. It was awful. And that night I got not that night, it was the next day that I got the Picc line. So I went basically 2 days without TP. No, that's not true. Sorry, like everything becomes a blur. That night of the surgery, they placed another IV, and I started TPN. So they did TPN through the IV in my hand or my arm because I had not had anything in, I want to say 2 days in that point. So I went ahead and started TPN again. Not that I really ever stopped, it was just one day. So I was on the TPN again, and then the next day I got my Picc line on the 18th. So the 18th I got the Picc line put in, which I was not happy about. I still have it, and it was frustrating for me because I really wanted to use the port, and Picc line has a higher risk of infection. So it was just not a good hospital stay. So I was released finally after a couple of days, and just kept draining. And then 3 weeks afterwards, my port was still not better. It started to look worse, and it didn't hurt or anything like that, but it was scabbing really, really bad. So even after I got home, I was on IV vancomycin at home through my Picc line as well as TPN. And then when it came time to go and have my tube finished being placed, my doctor looked at it and was like, "We've got to pull it. I'm sorry. Like, the port has to come out." So I was really, really upset. The day that I had my procedure done for my tube was also the same day that I got my port removed. And I went ahead and I was only there for 2 days, which is not that bad, 2 or 3 days. And so after I went and I had my tube done first, and I remember feeling everything because they did not knock me out. They just gave me a little something and that was it, and I was awake the whole entire time. And then they were going back and forth whether or not they were going to convert my separate G and J tube into a GJ tube, and they kept saying that that's what they were going to do, and I'm like, that's not what my doctor said. Like, I have a separate G and J tube for a reason. And so they had to consult my doctor, and the last second, they're like, we're gonna go ahead and stick with the original plan for the GJ tube. Well, by the time it was all said and done, I looked down and I still had the separate G and J tube. So I don't know what the heck that they did or what they were thinking. But when I talked to my doctor recently, she's like, no, I told them not to do the GJ tube. It's supposed to be separate. So. And then right after there, I was taken up into the OR because the tube placement was done in interventional radiology. So they were able to get it in. Everything was good. It was set to start tube feeds. And so right after there, I was wheeled down to the OR and I got my port removed. They warned me beforehand that there was a chance that I would have to if there was an infection or if there's like any pussing or anything. If there was pussing, that I would have to have the hole left open because you don't want to trap bacteria and anything that's in there underneath the skin. So she was like, chances are you'll be fine. Well, when I woke up, there was a hole in my chest. So I was kind of not happy about that. Plans were constantly changing and things were constantly changing, and I felt like I couldn't really catch a break, so that was frustrating. I started on Osmolite, and I started at 15 ml an hour, and that went okay. And then when I was released to go home, I started having really bad stomach cramping and stuff. I had bloody diarrhea, so I was admitted again into the hospital, and it ended up stopping while I was there. So we don't really know 100% what that was. But then I was sent home, and I've continued to have diarrhea, but not like bloody or anything like that. So I went ahead and told my doctor that I was still having issues, and we switched to Vital 1.5, and that seems to be better on my stomach. I still have the loose stools, and they actually started before I started tube feeding. So we don't know what's causing it, but when I went to my doctor's appointment the other day, I finally reached 30 ml an hour. But when I went to my doctor's appointment, I think it was last week or the week before, the whole point was to start weaning off of the TPN, and that appointment was to check up on everything since I hadn't seen her since like April. It was to check up on everything and to start weaning me off the TPN and just do tube feeds. Well, because I'm having the loose stools, I cannot increase my rate of tube feedings. Therefore, I cannot wean off the TPN. I need to still supplement with the TPN. So I'm now doing tube feedings and TPN, and I don't see her again until like the middle of July, end of July. So that's kind of frustrating. But yeah, it's just been It's been a mess. It has been a mess. I'll make a separate video to showing you, or not showing you, but telling you about other testing that I'm having done because of other things that I have going on. But I'll update all that on a separate video because I don't want this one to be too long. But I'm going to go ahead and show you my GJ tube. There's the G tube. This goes into the stomach. And then the J tube is under there somewhere. So yeah, G tube, stomach, G tube over there. And it's two separate stomas. So, not the same one. And then I have my G tube bag here and my feeds in there. So yeah, that's kind of the update. I have gained weight. I'm like 124 pounds now, which is crazy because my lowest was 113 and I wasn't gaining a whole lot of weight on the TPN, but all my blood work shows that I am now absorbing my tube feedings, which is great. I don't feel a whole lot better yet. We think that there's some other issues going on, but I'll explain that in another video. So, sorry, this was kind of all over the place, dates and everything like that. It was just a crazy past couple of months, so everything kind of gets mixed up, but thanks for watching.